Hello, this is Janet Michael. In addition to hosting the Valley Today each weekday at noon on the River 95.3, I also produce podcasts, and I'm excited to introduce you to a new podcast series in partnership with Lord Fairfax Community College. Having provided higher education and career training for the past half-century, LFCC is tightly interwoven into the fabric of the Northern Shenandoah Valley and Piedmont regions. Join me every week for conversations with current and former students to hear their funny and inspiring stories as we learn about their journey to higher education, the role that LFCC has played, where they are now, and where they plan to go. We'll also talk to current and former professors about their experiences and best memories of LFCC over the past 50 years. Get every single episode as they're released on our website at theriver953.com under the podcast tab, or you can subscribe for free in Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, on Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search for LFCC Stories. Hello and welcome to the Valley Today. I am your host, Janet Michael. Happy Wednesday as you are listening to the show today. We have, of course, pre-recorded our conversation. It is now after dark on a Tuesday evening. I am on the Zoom screen with my dear friend, Niki Cales from the Front Royal Warren County Chamber of Commerce. We have both had a day and a half together on this Tuesday and are very late recording the show you're now listening to on Wednesday. But Niki, thank you for meeting me after dark.
I'm telling you, it has been a challenging day, but hey, we're here and we're getting through it.
And our theme for our conversation today is going to be looking forward. So as long as we can look forward for the next 22 to 24 minutes, I think then we can both just call it a day and be done with this Tuesday.
Right. I was thinking earlier, we all get really up in arms, because it's Groundhog Day, right? And so the groundhog saw a shadow, and so they say 6 more weeks of winter, but there is 6 more weeks left in winter. So it's not really as bad, I think, as, we all, as we all seem to feel like it is, because quite honestly, whether we like it or not, winter's going to be here until March 21st or 20th, whatever that is. So, I think I don't think we need to put so much stake in that groundhog and whether he sees a shadow or not.
Oh, I agree. This morning, Al Roker said the same thing. And he said, we have 6 more weeks of winter, whether the groundhog says so or not. And my personal logic is, why are we listening to a rodent of some sort that, it's all, I'm ready for spring. So I have decided that all of my guests moving forward are going to be talking about spring or they're not coming on the show. So it's going to be spring in my own little world.
Yes. Spring forward. I agree. I am desperately looking for that time when, things are better, warmer, better. We can get around more, all that good stuff. It's going to happen.
Are you already looking at events for spring? I know Wine and Craft still is, to a certain degree, has to be up in the air because of the nature of what it is, but you've got other things that you might be able to put back in place this spring, don't you?
We're keeping a really close eye on the Wine and Craft Festival stuff. I would be lying if I said I thought we'd be able to have it in May. It's just simply the sheer number of people that attend that event. We're probably looking at later in the year, but I have a lot of hope that we'll be able to have that event this year. But some of our other events that we do in the spring, like our Millionaire Maker golf event, that will go on, because you can be out on the golf course and it's a beautiful spring day when we do that, and folks have the opportunity to shoot for $1 million. So why wouldn't you want to participate in that? And then some of the other events that we do, really rely on, how many people we can have, that sort of stuff, like our annual dinner, for instance. We weren't able to have that last year. My hope is this year, in April, even if we're not able to have it in an indoor setting like we would normally, my hope is that we won't be doing it virtually. However, we'll be doing it, like you would do an outdoor, picnic or a barbecue or something like that. So,
you normally do that at Shenandoah Valley Golf Club, don't you?
We do, yes.
I think
Mhm.
you should just have everybody seated at all the different holes, and Richard Runyon should give everybody golf carts to drive around and wave and say hi to everybody at their tables at all the different holes. I think that's
I,
how you should do it.
I think that's a great idea. I think that's a lot of fun.
She is probably listening right now, screaming, "Niki, tell her to shut up."
Tell her to stop. Well, while we're throwing Richard under the bus, I keep telling him that he needs to, how they do all of those light, the Christmas lights. He needs to do one on his golf course with, people could rent golf carts and drive through. I think it would be, a great thing. So maybe look for that next year too, or this year, because we're in 2021 now.
Well, and you've really taken a lot of everything that has happened in the past year. And I know you've done things from a chamber perspective. You've joined, you and I are both in this really cool Facebook group that involves chamber executives from across the country, talking
Yes.
about new programs and how are they managing to tweak this and do that. And it really has
Sure.
put you into a good position to be able to look forward and say, hey, we haven't ever done this before, but now we're going to try it. And this person over here did this the way we used to, but look at how they're doing it now. It really has given you a whole lot more options.
It has, and it's also, it quite honestly, it's been really good for my sanity because, when you look at those posts and you see what people, what people want to talk about, you realize you're not alone, and that people are going through the same things that you're going through, and they're dealing with the same issues, and not being able to have events, and not being able to connect people in the way that we would normally. So being able to have those great conversations, and just the amount of knowledge that comes out of that group. So for folks who are in other industries, whether it's plumbing or dentist or whatever, I am sure that those groups exist, on Facebook, for pretty much any industry. So I would definitely encourage folks to search those out and be a part of them, because they are valuable.
I've got a couple that are on Facebook that I don't get to very often, but I have a bunch of people on Twitter that have a certain hashtag. They'll do hashtag marketing Twitter. And
Right.
if you use that hashtag, that certain group comes back and you can ask questions. They do open question and answer periods on certain nights during certain times. And it
Mhm.
really is, it's a great way to educate yourself and know that you're not the only one going through this particular problem. So is somebody in Arizona or Washington State or Florida.
Right, right. And so that, I think me myself lately, I've spent a lot of time focusing on the negativity that surrounds our social media outlets. And, I think what we're talking about right now is a really good example of the positive things that you can get from participating in social media. And, if you choose to use it in this manner, it can be very valuable for your career, for your business, and those sorts of things. So it doesn't all have to be, negative and political, quite frankly.
I know people always are asking me, hey, did you see that post I made on Facebook? And my answer is almost always the same, which is no, because I never look at my personal Facebook feed. I am too busy looking at business feeds for clients,
Yes.
for people that my clients follow. I don't ever see a lot of the crap that is on there
Right.
because I'm not looking at my own stuff.
I think a lot of us have started to, so, oh no, I'm going to use a word that I didn't want to use anymore. Pivot. Pivot. Yeah. So, we're all starting to, I think a lot of us are starting to utilize social media in a different way. And I think that's going to be a positive thing, because if we're using it, for educational purposes, knowledge, increasing our knowledge base, and then sharing our knowledge, all of that is positive, and it's impactful. And I think the more that we can do that, the better off, quite frankly, the entire world is going to be.
Well, yeah, and
So,
certainly the more successful your business is going to be. That is
absolutely.
almost a guarantee.
Absolutely.
Well, let's take a quick break. When we come back, can we talk a little bit about some of the successes that you had in 2020 and how much of that's going to stay looking
Sure.
forward into 2021? And I know you've got a couple of new things, some virtual series and some new things that you're going to do.
Yeah,
Can we do all of that in the next segment?
of course.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Niki Cales. She is the president of the Front Royal Warren County Chamber of Commerce. It is the Valley Business Today, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Got a financial decision to make or a goal to reach, but you don't know where to start? You've come to the right place. Introducing Quick Money Chats with the Northern Shenandoah Valley Financial Education Program. Visit tinyurl.com/Quick Money Chat to schedule a virtual chat with a staff member or trained volunteer. We won't tell you what to do, but we will give you the tools you need to choose wisely. And because Virginia Cooperative Extension is part of Virginia Tech and Virginia State, your land-grant universities, you can be sure that our information is credible and trustworthy. And you'll know that we aren't trying to sell you something. Maybe you want to improve your credit score, or reduce your banking overdraft fees, or even figure out if you can afford to buy that car. Sorting through tons of information on the internet can be overwhelming, and sometimes it can be hard to know who to trust. Schedule a Quick Money Chat and get the information you need to take action. Go to tinyurl.com/Quick Money Chat and get financial education personalized for you.
Welcome back to the Valley today. I am your host, Janet Michael. Happy Wednesday as you are listening to the show today. We, of course, have pre-recorded our conversation on the Zoom screen on a Tuesday night. I am chatting with Niki Cales from the Front Royal Warren County Chamber of Commerce. And Niki, I should have known when I recorded Monday's show on Sunday afternoon that this was going to be a week of odd recordings.
Yeah.
That I set the tone myself for the week. So I have no one to blame that you and I are sitting here after dark on a Tuesday night recording a show that people are listening to at lunchtime on Wednesday.
Well, I think that's another thing that we can blame the pandemic for is it definitely has messed with our working hours. I mean, you and I have talked about this numerous times. You take the bottle off. It's not like you can shove that genie back in the bottle. So we're all going to have to work really hard to bring back some sense of normalcy and, not be, working however many hours a day. Cause I know that my hours are very wonky, working a whole lot more than I would normally with the advent of Zoom and all of those things that, we've added to our work repertoire now.
So when we went to break, we were talking about, well, we said we were going to talk about some of the successes that you've had at the chamber over the course of 2020. And when we were talking about them before we started recording, it tickled me because one of the first ones that you said was the coffee break, which happens on Friday mornings over Zoom. And it is one of my favorite things. It's a great way to come and find out not only what everybody else on the Zoom screen is doing, but every once in a while, not very often, I think I've been pretty good about keeping it in check, being able to just unload and say, oh my God, let me tell you about this.
Yeah. It is, it's professional, but it's also very friendly. And I think it is a great way on a Friday morning going into the weekend to be able to do a little bit of that you're talking about, unloading, talk about, the things that are going on and get some really good advice from, knowledgeable people in different fields than you're not in. So yeah, it's probably one of my absolute favorite things too. I mean, there is the occasion where, we get off on a tangent or someone gets off on a tangent, but that can be fun too. So
that's true. Now, will you keep those going into, I know we're still in the pandemic, so you're still doing them in 2021, but do you foresee still doing them in, say, October or November of this year?
Right now, I can't see a time where I wouldn't be doing those just because, they are, they do have a following and there are people, it seems to have filled a niche for folks who can't necessarily get to committee meetings, things of that nature. So I can see that always being a component of our program of work. And I can see it probably always staying virtually just because, there are some people that really works for. And, there's a lot of us who are itching to get back to that, face-to-face meeting. I know I am, I'm a social creature and there's nothing better for me than being in a group of people and, in that energy. But there are a lot of people who this virtual world works a lot better for them. So I think as we all move forward, and start looking at what we're going to do, when we're beyond the pandemic and, things can go back to whatever that normal place is, we're going to have to be really careful not to leave those people behind who virtual really does work for. So yeah, I could see this always being that particular event always being something that is part of our program of work.
Well, and the other thing too, and it kind of goes to the same thing that you're saying there, is you created that Front Royal to Go page early on in the pandemic.
Mhm.
And a lot of us have really gotten used to being able to do curbside takeout and delivery. And whether we, it's not to say we're never going to eat in a restaurant again, even when we're on the other side of this, but a lot of us like the ability to sit at home and eat it or pick it up and go sit somewhere else and eat. Those are things that are probably going to stay well into this year.
Oh, I can't imagine that those are things that businesses can ever let go of now. The convenience and the, just the necessity, quite honestly, of those sorts of services. I would imagine that, I mean, I know there are some businesses that have kind of backed off on those, a lot of businesses that were doing delivery that don't normally do delivery, those sorts of things, which incur an extra cost. But things like curbside, which, there's not really an additional cost to that. And the convenience of that, I think, is so important. People have to, I think, to survive in the business landscape that we're in now, those are the sorts of things that you have to keep. And if you're not doing it, you really should add it to the list of things that you do.
Well, and it's one of those things where we have our favorite restaurants that we would go eat at, even on a regular basis. If we were going out in the before times, as my friend Sandy says, we were only going there, even if we decided to do it on a rotation, we were only getting to some of those restaurants once every couple of months. But when we can do it curbside and just swing by and pick it up, we're eating there a whole lot more often than we would have if we were saving it for when we go in and sit down.
Absolutely. No, we're all time starved, right? We're all always running. We're not, we don't have a lot of extra free time. And if you can place an order, whether it's through their app or, call them or whatever it is, and they can run it out to the curb to you and you can keep on going, that's a bonus. It's great.
Yeah, eventually I'm going to learn how to eat noodles while I'm driving, but don't tell Gaz I said that, because he'll start following me around Winchester looking to see if I'm eating noodles while I'm driving.
Yeah.
He'll give me props for not being on my cell phone, but he'll still yell at me for eating noodles.
I don't know if that's something that you're going to be able to perfect. I mean, unless you put them in I don't know. That would be hard, Janet.
I'm going to work on it. That's what I'm going to try and figure out. So the other thing that you guys had a huge success in doing was your partnership with the town and the county with the CARES Act funding. You guys really kind of stepped up with that stuff, getting that money into the hands of not even just businesses, but people who needed it to keep their electric from being turned off and their water bills and that sort of stuff.
Right. Well, that was a huge undertaking. And, I feel personally really thankful and grateful that the town and the county would turn to the chamber to help facilitate and administer that program. And we were really fortunate to have a pool of very knowledgeable volunteers who took a lot of time away from their businesses to ensure that that program ran smoothly and that the money got into the hands of the folks that needed it. And, quite honestly, the town and the county put a lot of trust in the chamber. They just sort of, said, okay, here's what we want to do. And now you guys do it. That felt really good. It was a lot of work. We worked really, really hard on that, from June through November. And, but given the sheer number of businesses that we were able to help, and, I think that I talked to you about this a while ago on air probably, but the number of business owners who came in to pick up their grants and that sort of stuff and, shared their stories about, how close they were to closing their doors and how maybe, that money got them over the hump. That really helped us get through some really hard times. Those really dark months really helped folks keep going.
Yeah, they were your light at the end of the tunnel as you were giving them a check that was their light at the end of the tunnel.
Exactly. Yeah. And I had, one of our recipients, he came by and visited me a couple of, I guess it's been 2 weeks ago now. He dropped off some wine. So I have some wine to share, Janet. So
it is after 5 as we're recording this. It is after 5 o'clock, and I know where you are right now. But you've got some new things
So-
that you're going to be doing in 2021. And I know we got to wrap up in another minute or two, but I really want to make sure we talk about this virtual series that you're putting together now that will kick off in the next couple of
Sure.
weeks.
Well, so, we want to make sure that we're offering some programming to get us through until we can meet again. And one of those things that we're going to do coming up, I'll have dates and stuff soon. So folks, please pay attention to our Facebook and to our website. So first, we're going to talk to the folks from Valley Health about the vaccination efforts, how things are going, and maybe dispel some of the myths that are out there. I mean, I know a lot of people are sharing that information, but we want to get that out to as many people as possible. So that'll be our first guests on a virtual town hall series, and then we'll start pulling in other folks. Like we want to talk to the people from the town and the county, and the EDA and the school system, and some of our local nonprofits that are doing really good work, and just in general disseminating information to as many people as possible about all of the things that are happening in our community and the ways that people can get involved.
And that's a big deal, because I think sometimes we go from one extreme to the other. And we touched on this briefly in the first segment, where we either only know what's going on in our four walls of our house, or we're paying attention so much to what's going on a federal or a state level that we don't know what's going on in our backyard. So this is going to be a great way to kind of bring all of those pieces together.
Absolutely. And, I shared, on social media last week. So the town right now has some board positions open, or committee positions. There's a position open on the Planning Commission, and there's a position open on the Board of Architectural Review. If you're looking for a way to impact your community, applying for those positions is a great way to do it. And the county always has positions open for various things as well. So those are the sorts of things we'll talk about. But, just putting a bug in the folks who are listening to us today into their ear, that you can always go to the town and county websites and find out what positions are open, and put in your application, because what do I say all the time? Be part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Well, and all of those positions have somebody who's in charge of them, whether it's an actual government employee or a chairperson of that committee, that you can reach out and say, hey, I'm not really sure I know what this is, but it might be of interest to me. How much time is it going to take? They are very upfront and honest with you about what's involved if you decide to fill out that application and put your name in the hat.
Oh, of course they are. Yeah, because they want to get people that are going to fit. And, they want people to be aware of what they're getting into going into it. And, some of them do require a lot of time, some of them not so much. So finding what works for you is always a good thing. But, if you can be involved in your community, if you can carve out the time to do it, it pays dividends, and not just today, but in the future, because the things that you're deciding with some of these committees are things that impact the community for decades.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So where can people go to get more information about the virtual series when you start kicking it off? What is the Facebook again?
So Front Royal Chamber / Front Royal Chamber, and we didn't mention it, but we are working on a website. So what I would say is be kind. If you go over to frontroyalchamber.com right now, it's up sort of, but it's a work in progress. So we're working on it. And you visit it every day, because there will be new things every day as we get it all put together. But eventually all of the information will be there as well. But right now our most reliable place to find all the information is on Facebook.
Awesome. Well, thank you for carving some time out of your evening to have a conversation with me.
Oh, thank you for having me and enduring all of the chaos.
Yes, well, and I saw John wandering around behind you as we were talking. So tell John I said thank you for letting you talk to me instead of probably fix him dinner. Well, we are going to wrap up our conversation today. We have been chatting with Niki Cales from the Front Royal Warren County Chamber of Commerce for the Valley Business Today, Front Royal Warren County edition. I will be back tomorrow. I have actually already recorded tomorrow's show, so there will not be a late night recording session for tomorrow's show. I am speaking with Mitch Moore, who is a senior vice president at Shenandoah University. And we're going to talk about the vaccine clinic that they have set up over at Shenandoah, how it came to be, how it works, the logistics. And apparently you can, in some cases, get a violinist solo while you're waiting the 15 minutes after your vaccine to make sure you're good to go. They got all kinds of cool stuff. They're taking you from your cars to the vaccine clinic in a golf cart. You don't even have to walk across the parking lot. He's going to give us all those details tomorrow. So meet me back here just a few minutes after noon, and I will share all of those details with you.